The title actually says it all. We have 4 stories inside a main story. You can call this movie a compilation. Why a compilation? Well, stay until towards the end of this video. If you listen to me, then you will find out why. Let's take a look. The main story starts with a young female student that is held hostage by a guy that seemingly is mute and therefore communicates with her by writing on paper. His reasoning for holding her hostage? Well, seemingly because he can only fall asleep if somebody tells him stories that bring his blood to boil. Without much choice, she tells him 4 stories. But let's go step by step first. The main story is rather short but actually effective with a chilling ending. And that is actually fine as it is, but there is not much to say either about it, since it only goes for a few minutes total. But now let's jump to the 4 stories. The first one is about 2 kids and a seemingly strict mother. The kids are alone at home at night, and at one point a delivery guy steps in front of the kids' door. Now you just need to imagine the scenario. 2 little kids alone at home in the middle of the night, frightened by the loneliness even though their apartment seems to be really secured. And the song they sung before with their teacher on their way home didn't help either. If the scenario is set up like this, then everything gets very predictable, and sadly that's the problem with the first story. The only surprise may be the mother herself and where she actually works, even though we only get a glimpse of it. But looking at our world and how it works, maybe it's not all that surprising of what happens. But don't be fooled, while the first story was rather predictable, it still was enjoyable for the simplicity of it with effective pictures, and the kids show a good performance as well. The second story goes to the sky. A criminal that is transported to a prison by plane manages to free himself and goes rampage in it. Well, that happens when only 2 officers are watching him and he is a crazy bastard with a thirst for blood. Now this one was more thrilling to follow overall, even though not all that special either. What wasn't really necessary were the fantasies the killer had throughout the whole thing, as if he had a traumatic experience. Which would be fine if it amounted to anything, but it doesn't. But like the main story, this one has an effective conclusion, if you can call it that, and a rather claustrophobic atmosphere, which was nice. The third one was probably the best one in here and had more that typical Asian horror movie feel because it is so delightfully absurd. This one tells about a young woman that is about to get married to a well-off guy, and her younger sister is of course jealous. The fight for that man begins, but what nobody knows is that the guy has a dark secret as well. Again, rather absurd, but sometimes scenarios like these actually happen in the real world. The last one goes for a virus. Seemingly there is a virus that turns humans into something like zombies. Already in an ambulance, a patient that fights for her life with a very protective mother by her side is the main focus. But the question throughout this part is the patient infected as well or not? This is probably the more gory part of the whole movie, but as well the most unoriginal and incoherent. In actuality, every single story could be presented as single movies, and maybe it would have worked a bit better. But as it is, it's not bad at all. The actors do a decent to good job, and the whole thing is actually interesting to follow. In the end, I can only hope that every single director in this goes far in the industry. Yes, the 4 stories in this were directed by very young and rather inexperienced directors. And I thought they did a fairly good job here. Check this one out, you may see some awesome movies from these directors in the future.